Close Encounter 3, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 1989. In the mid to late 80s, the novelist Whitley Strieber wrote a book called Communion, in which he described his own lifelong experience as being abducted by aliens. And he also described the phenomenon known in this community as lost time, where Whitley Strieber would suddenly become aware that he could not remember the previous 10 minutes or the previous 10 hours or the previous 10 days, and would come to the conclusion that that was when the aliens were taking him and giving him rectal probes. This book became, naturally, an enormous bestseller. This image by Ted Joseph was from that book and was his sort of police sketch of what the creatures looked like that Whitley Strieber described to him. And it was so successful that they made it into a movie. And in 1989, the way I remember it, I was in Philadelphia visiting my girlfriend, and we decided, apropos of nothing, to go see this movie. And the way I remember it, the movie featured these details. 1, Whitley Strieber was played by Christopher Walken. 2, the alien was played by a rubber puppet. 3, there was a surprisingly long sequence of the film in which the rubber puppet gives Christopher Walken a rectal probe. 4, this was being shown in a regular movie theater in Center City, Philadelphia. 5, all of which is to say, they made a movie out of the book Communion, and it starred Christopher Walken. Does something seem strange about this to you? Something odd, something off, something wrong with this picture? Think about it. Yes. The answer is, I had a girlfriend. What? How did this happen? When did this happen? I remember walking out of the theater and becoming suddenly aware of this fact as we walked hand in hand and pondering these very same questions. And to this day, I have no answer for you. Close Encounter 4, the Algarve, Portugal, 1991. Some years later, I and this woman, we'll call her Catherine Fletcher, went traveling through the south of Portugal together. We stayed in old, crumbling walled cities in tiny little hotels, and we would climb up to the roof and drink vino verde and watch the sunset and play checkers. What? Did we do this? Really? Does anyone do this? We went to some topless beaches. Excuse me? No. Not in my life. For what it's worth, we went to Sagres, which was considered at the time to be the end of the world, and there I was chased by a pack of feral dogs on the dock, and the lead dog bit me on the ass, requiring me to go to a strange Portuguese clinic and receive an ass shot. Make of that what you will. Our last day in Portugal, we were in the district capital of Faro, and Catherine decided that she wanted to go to the beach one last time. Now, Faro is a bustling little city, and to get to the beach, she explained, you would have to take a bus and then a boat. And did I want to come with? But I was exhausted and dog-bitten, and so I said no. I remember what she looked like before she left. The freckles had grown and multiplied on her face and shoulders, clustering into a kind of a tan. A tan. We were both tan. Is this true? Her eyes were extra bright and extra blue as a result. She was smiling. She was a single woman about to go alone into a country, not even speaking the language, to travel alone by bus and boat to go to a beach she did not know or had never seen. I loved her, and then she went out into that strange alien land. It took me some time to come to my senses. I had my own lost time moment where I woke up and suddenly realized it was very late in the day, almost dinner time, and she had not come back. Nervous, I went down to the street to look for her. Now, I did not speak Portuguese. I did not know where the beach was. I could not call her on a cell phone because this was 1991, and the aliens had not given us that technology yet. I realized that the day would only have two possible outcomes. Either Catherine would come back to the hotel, or she would never come back to the hotel. And so I sat down to wait. I did not watch the skies, but the very end of the street where the buses and cars and pedestrians and little scooters were moving along, and I watched those constellations shift, hoping that they would part and I would see her face. It was at that moment, in that very small town of 30,000 or so, that I truly appreciated the vastness of the universe and the searching we might do in it. And that's when the Liberians came along. 5 young men, all laughing, happy, traveling together, coming back to this hotel where they were staying. One of them was named Joseph, and he asked me, what was I doing? And I explained. And he said, don't worry. He was sure that Catherine would be safe. But he did not seem so very sure, for he sat down to wait with me. And for the next 2 hours, they all waited with me, taking turns, going up to their room, coming back, telling me jokes, distracting me. 2 hours, they gave me a message. We are not alone. And then, in the middle of a sentence, at the very birth of twilight, I turned and looked down the street. The stars aligned, and she came back. She was smiling. She did not understand why I was so worried, neither did the Liberians, though there was a huge amount of relief in their laughter as they clapped us on the back and went back up to the room and left us alone in the street, holding hands. An event like this leaves a scar on the memory, much like a piece of alien technology that has been inserted into your buttocks by a Portuguese doctor. And even now, a decade and a half later, even now that we are married, I look for her still whenever she is not in the room. And even though I think you will agree it is probable that during the time she was away, she was kidnapped and replaced by an alien clone, I love her and wait for her still. Thank you for your kind attention.